Ready when you are, sir.
All right, folks, this is not an official meeting, it's a town hall, so it's very informal. What we do, even with informal town halls, we like to start with the budget meeting. You'll join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for gathering here today. I'm Commissioner Keys, come on down. We got Chase. Like I said earlier, this is a town hall meeting. We're not going to use a gavel or anything like that. We're really here to hear input from you all, to engage with the public, from our experts, people who understand the fire service better than anybody else, because you all put your lives on the line to protect our community. To give you a sense of where we are in this process, we are at the very beginning. There's no plan, there's no study. We haven't even started. We're starting now, but the reason we're here is we wanted to hear from y'all as we get started with the process, so we make sure we're doing it together. So we're not here to present a study or conclusions or anything like that. We're at the very beginning of the process because we want to work with firefighters at the very beginning of the process. That is the strategy we put together with the commission and also with Commissioner Mood, who's also Chief Mood, who is an expert on these matters. And Chief Mood, Commissioner Mood, if you could give us a preview of what we're trying to do here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Basically, what we want to do is kind of a polar opposite of what happened with the study on the ambulance side. A lot of that was done, all of it was done, kind of handed down to us in very little, if any, input from the volunteer system. This is the polar opposite. From the beginning, we want to have input from all fire companies, the communities, to see what you want, what you can do, what each station is good at, where we may not be quite as good, and what we can do to help one another improve. And as the study comes out, that's what our focus is on, how to improve together as a whole, where we want to see ourselves in 20 or 25 years, and what we need to do to help get there.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think the best thing to start off with is to hear from the chief here, Chief Rich. If you can, Chief first, if you could give us an overview of your thoughts on station operations, what's needed, and kick us off.
Thank you. Honestly, right now, we're at Citizens, and I can only speak for Citizens, is we currently are able to staff our units 7 days a week, basically from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. We Monday through Friday, we're running a 3-man engine crew from 6 to 6. Friday nights, Saturdays, and then Sundays, we're staffing 24 hours a day. So right now, staffing for us is the best it's ever been. Where we struggle is in the daytime hours. Granted, we do have some career firemen who are around and can help get the trucks out and stuff like that in the daytime hours. And we also rely on the business partners of ESA. But with the call volume that the ESA is experiencing on the EMS side, it's also hard for them to get the fire trucks out. Of course, trying to get volunteers to come into the service is getting extremely hard, because with the cost of things, the living wages, stuff like that, trying to incentivize the people to give up their time for the amount of training that they're required to go through every year and stuff like that. It's becoming extremely difficult.
Well, how have you been successful with the shifts that you're doing?
I mean, it's on a volunteer basis. I mean, we luckily have a a group of guys and gals who are wanting to be involved in the county and running calls and stuff like that. So luckily, we've had enough volunteers that continuously want to keep coming in for duty groups.
So Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., that's where you struggle with coverage?
And like Chief was saying, throughout the day, we have a lot of, career firemen that are volunteers here that will come in and out during the day, and also other members. Everyone else, thank you. And, you know, and they're in and out, but it's not guaranteed throughout that daytime hour, just because people work shifts the way they overlap. But, for the most part, we've been very fortunate, as Chief stated, to be able to have the group of people that have been coming in. We've been fortunate with the membership we've taken in over the past 2 years. And getting them to stay. It's not so much taking them in, but getting them to stay. And we've been able to do that with the leadership we have in place, and the other guys that are members here to help out to keep everything flowing well. And, so we have approximately 42, I think, active, people. And that allows us to work the schedule the way we work it. Is that better? But the assistant chief, he's not here, he's out of town right now, but, he manages the schedule, along with, Lieutenant Cosby. And they've done a great job. If someone can't make a shift, we find coverage. The schedule's all done through the system that we have, and, it's worked out pretty well for us.
So you're actually scheduling shifts that they're putting in for.
Yes,
What's the three you use?
Chief 360, we use the scheduling aspect of that system.
Can you explain Chief 360 for someone who's not a firefighter?
They're not gonna be able to hear you
Oh,
online.
can you explain what Chief 360 is?
So
for
Chief 360
non-experts?
is basically a scheduling platform. It lets us, I mean, we could do payroll, the whole nine yards to it. It also interfaces with the CAD system. I mean, it's displayed up here on the screen, the blue screen. So, it gives us a calls, which lets it go out to cellular devices for the members, so they know the calls are coming in. But like I say, the biggest thing that we use it for is tracking hours, scheduling our people for their different shifts, stuff like that. So we're working with Chief 360 to expand upon that by building a website through it. I mean, there's a whole line of things that they can do. Not to mention, they also do our station alerting system. So I mean, it's a very big platform that we're just slowly creeping into and learning.
Thank you.
Shall we hear from our consultant on the process?
Okay, so the county, as I said earlier, has brought in a consultant. Mr. Knight, who's sitting to my left and to the right of Annie, to start a study for the future fire service in Jefferson County. We're just at the beginning stages gathering input. We haven't even started. And we wanted to bring in input from the get-go. That's why we're here today. So we're not here to present answers or present conclusions or anything like that. It's to hear from you and to start collecting information. Mr. Knight, could you tell us about this study, where you are in the process, and how you'll be asking questions and collecting information from our experts here?
Absolutely, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for hosting this. This will be a good exchange of ideas. So as been presented, we're pretty early in the process. We're about to get all of the response related data for all the agencies in the county. So when we'll process that, that's probably around 45 days out from now. So as the chair mentioned, this is perfect timing for us as we're working on more of the quantitative data in the background, this is our opportunity to have a good dialogue and exchange, to hear from you on input on what your greatest challenges are, and what ideas you have to fix it, right? Because as mentioned, you guys are living the environment that's here. You're living, going to calls, you're managing all the items that cause challenges, difficulties, success, et cetera. And we want to tap into that the most we can, so we can best align solutions based on your actual experience. So I appreciate you all having us. You're the first town hall meeting, and we're going to meet with every agency. We just have a few that we're going to be virtual on, us personally from our company next week, but we're going to capture 5 of the agencies this week. Or 4, I should say.
Shall we open it up to comments now?
I think that makes sense. For our county commission meetings, we have this formal thing where we do a 3-minute timer, move 10 seconds, they go, well, Pat, I say, please wrap it up. I don't think we need to do that. Anybody who wants to come on up and talk, we've got a microphone right here. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what's going on, in your company. Tell us what you think the future is, what the challenges are you face, any advice that you have, any concerns that you have as we try and look at this as a community. And again, the county commission, the government doesn't have some plan we're trying to implement. We're trying to gather information from y'all so we can collaboratively come up with a plan together.
If you wanna just have us pass the mic around, if you're more comfortable sitting, you can do that too. Let's prefer. Thanks, Eddie.
Chris said thank you.
We wanna hear from you.
Yeah, so, my name's Chris. I've been a member of Citizens, gosh, for a long time. I think the biggest challenge that we have faced, I think the biggest challenge that we've faced overall in my tenure here is, to Fletcher's point, really it's staffing, and keeping members. So one of the things that I told the county administrator earlier is I think the county should really focus on ways to incentivize volunteers, because flat out, I know the whole EMS thing was the EMS thing, right? I don't see 15 years, 20 years from now, a way that Jefferson County is going to, I don't see a way that Jefferson County is going to function without volunteers. I don't think the revenue is there. I don't think the funding sources, at least that I've seen in the county so far, are there. I think the reality is it has to be a partnership. And we have to figure out how to incentivize people to want to come to the firehouse and volunteer. I think that can be done in a bunch of different ways, and I think you can look at surrounding jurisdictions to figure out how they're doing that, and some of the things that they're doing. County-funded LoSAP programs,
What's a
things
low,
like-
what's a LoSAP program?
LoSAP is length of service award program. It's a retirement for volunteers. Some jurisdictions provide personal property discounts. So like one vehicle is free for a volunteer as long as you're active. That type of stuff. I think we have to look as a county at ways to do that. I'm probably gonna say something that's probably not the most well received, but I'm gonna say it anyway. And that is also the way we're developing solar farms, all of this stuff that we're doing that we are not prepared for has to stop. To fight a fire at a solar farm, there's no company in this county that's ready to do it, right? And the largest one is in our first two. And it's just completely, it has to stop. We are not there yet. The county's not there yet. And I don't know how to do that from a politically correct standpoint, but that is the truth of the matter. So if you're looking for 20 years, if the whole county is going to be solar farms and those types of specialized things that exist, that really has to be something that we have to study. Of hazmat teams, all of this stuff that the county does not have. Right now, we're relying on Berkeley County, Loudoun County, Washington County, Frederick County, Maryland. We're calling those resources in for any type of calling. Fortunately, we've only had, I think, one small incident at the solar farm down here. But it's just a matter of time. And flat out, none of the fire departments in this county are ready.
And Chris, it's back and forth, so we can talk.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you. We are going through a text amendment process for solar farms, and one of the things that we're talking about is having a site plan process for any future solar farm. And one of the things I would like to do when we have a concept plan and site plan, we encourage the responding EMS fire station to chief to present their recommendations on that property from a safety perspective. And we now have some, we have Bruce Grisman on the planning commission. And he's a volunteer for Independent. So moving forward, I think we will make that a priority. And if any solar farms do move forward in the future, I'm sure about that with the financial feasibility from the federal side. But I hear you and I agree with you. So we did not have that as a requirement when the first one was, so we have to change that.
Good, that's a good start.
Yeah, thank you.
When you say text amendment, that means we're changing the rules, right?
Yeah, we're changing the rules and there's, we're actually, I have to, just so you know, I have to leave early, but not because I don't want to be here, but we have a planning commission meeting at 7. So, that's one of the things that we're talking about tonight, and we'll have a public forum on, the solar as well, once we move past, an okay from the planning commission.
Sure. Yeah, and one of the questions was, what are we missing? We're missing a hazmat, right? We have hazmat operation level folks. We can go and we can contain seeds and stuff like that. But when it comes to true hazmat capabilities, we do not have that anywhere in Jefferson County. It's not necessarily foam, it's the ability, it's the technical expertise to deal with it, right? These folks that are on hazmat teams, that's what they live and die for. That's what they do. That's what they study. They are the ones that are trained to do that and other things, right? Lithium ion battery fires, things like that, that obviously we could face anytime as well. Those are similar issues, right? So they overpack batteries, they burn off propane tanks. They're just more specially trained in that regard.
So we currently don't have that in Jefferson County?
No.
Okay, so we would, I assume, want to consider adding that as a safety requirement moving forward?
Yeah, if we're looking 20 years plus, I mean, hazardous material response has to be certainly in that plan. In my.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Chris, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What is it that, at a solar farm that you don't have the capability to put out a fire? I don't understand.
Well, so the first is the hazmat, right? So I'm not a big electricity guy. To go into that facility, most of us are gonna stage outside until somebody from that facility gets there. So I don't know what they have. I know they have a lot of high voltage things. I'm assuming there's probably some batteries. I don't know personally what's there. But just the expertise that's required, putting the fire out is one thing, right? Once it's de-energized, once the situation is controlled, extinguishing the fire is one thing. What happens to the runoff? What do we do with the runoff from the water that we extinguish or the foam that we use, anything like that? Those are the real concerns. Putting water on the fire is easy. Anybody can do that, right? But it's the cleanup, the after effect, what happens with that? How long do we have to wait for somebody to get there on the site to actually let us in? What's actually on fire? How close is it to any of the residential structures that are there? And I know there's not a ton, but if it's on that side, close to, what is it, Fairview Drive and that area back to there, or closer back to Eastland, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but there's all kinds of hazardous things in there. I can imagine. I don't have firsthand knowledge because I've never actually even been on a tour of the place. I don't know if we've even been offered one, but I can't say that we have or haven't. I just haven't personally done that. I just know that none of and Chief Mood, I think, would agree, none of the fire companies are prepared for that.
That's correct. It's my understanding that their directive from Blake is to stay outside until they get on scene and for them to handle the incident. Because there's no real way to shut things down. There's no way to get apparatus between. And no way for us to really know what's hot, what's not hot, and that's a huge problem.
Yeah, the solar farm and EV training that we have received a little bit is we'll let it burn until it comes to the fence. And unless there's a life safety issue, then we may go in and do a grab. That's about it. We're not opening up the battery storage facilities, nothing like that, but like Chris was saying, it does present a hazardous material incident. Because if you have the runoff, it gets into any of the water sources. Now you're gonna be dealing with the EPA, gonna be dealing with all that kind of stuff, so.
Yeah, so at the Fire Rescue Association, I brought up with all these tax amendments, potentially having a safety plan put in place as these potentially develop for the corresponding fire stations. So that would be my hope or requirement. So we have a plan in place for each one because each property could run off. We'll have a different plan to it. There might be lithium batteries, there might not be. So understanding the site and how that all interrelates from a safety perspective, definitely would encourage that.
Let me ask this, hey, Commissioner Epstein, come on down, Cap Commissioners, pull up a chair. Let me ask this for our experts here. When you look at counties that have a higher population, have a lot of different types of businesses. Let's use Loudoun County as an example. I understand they have unlimited amounts of money. It's very different, but what types of specialists do they have in there? We mentioned hazmat. Are there other types of specialists they have in there when you have a bigger population, different types of businesses, activities, et cetera?
My name's Corey. I've been here probably since 2010. To answer your question, so I do work for Loudoun County, and we have a specialty hazmat team that works within Loudoun County and one of the firehouses. So that is a requirement of 8 hazmat technicians. And they go through an 80-hour course to get hazmat technician, which allows them to do more than the operations level. So they'll go downrange if there's a leak or there's a white powder call or any hazardous situation that needs to be handled by a higher educated person, they would go down and do that. Now, hazmat operations, which everyone here has, is just basically like we can assist a hazmat technician team. We can do decon for them when they come back from downrange. We can identify a hazard. We can look at the ERG and we could start the process of getting the area evacuated. If it's on fire, like we could look in the ERG and it'll give us some, if some of these hazards are combustible with water, so you can't put water in them. You have to have some foam or you have to have something else to be able to put the fire out if it is. If it's electrical fire, we got to take care of the electrical hazard first. So we got to find out how to turn that electric off, which, that's these solar fields, that's what, the electric needs to be shut off. It's probably not going to be by us, it's going to be by that company. And then we're just going to let it burn. And then once they shut the electric off, then we'll put the fire out. And then we have to deal with all that runoff like we're talking about. But we have the hazmat team, they have a swift water team, and they have specific rescue squads that are trained in all kinds of different specialties, cutting cars, shoring up buildings that have fallen down, going down into manholes or tunnels for if an animal or a kid or something gets down, stormwater drains, things like that. So we do have specialized teams that are over there. We have some people in this county that have some of that training, but we don't have a specialized team that can be, I guess, dispatched to a call to be able to handle that. So, that comes with getting all those classes and getting more people. And before I go on, does anyone have any questions? Because I have some other things.
I did have, you mentioned a specialty water team, you say SWIFT, what is that?
Swift water, so if a kid gets stuck out in the Potomac River or the Shenandoah River, we have to go out and get them. That takes specialized classes for people to be able to operate a boat, to go out into the water to get them, to be able to know how to read the water, the way it's moving, even to be able to step foot out in the water. So that is a specialized class that you need to be able to basically go off the shore into the water. You should have specialized classes to be out on the water.
Thank you.
I have a question for it.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So with solar, that's very interesting. We do not currently have data centers now, but there was a bill, HB 2014, that passed in March, April, that allows data centers to come in without local control, essentially. And so, the state is working on, basically a streamlined development process for them. And so my question to you is, in Loudoun County, do you have a safety protocol for data centers? Is there something you'd be willing to share with us that we could pass on to the governor and in Charleston?
Yeah, that, you would have to reach out to the system chief that's over in Loudoun County. All I can say is we operate by NOVA manuals, and those are guidelines. And we have a NOVA manual specific to data centers. So that gives us some ideas of what we would face and where to position apparatus and how to do some of the stuff, but I don't want to get into all that. You guys could reach out to them over there, to the higher ups, and figure that out.
Okay. I had a quick question about hazmats. Yeah. And staffing on a hazmat truck, do we have a capability right now? There's a electric car, that's what in the road. Or do you need phone for that?
Absolutely not. Like, it takes thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons of water to be able to even put an electric car fire out.
Really?
It's the same thing. We have to be able to take that power away from those batteries. And still, even when we take the battery power away from it, it's still gonna off gas. And there's, I don't know if you've seen these studies, but it's called jetting. So it'll shoot those batteries out the side of the car. So now we have to worry about projectiles. They make these covers, there's a lot of studies on big blanket covers that you put over a car, and it'll suffocate the fire, and it'll put it out, but it still will off gas for days and weeks after. So to answer your question, we could probably put it out, but it would be very difficult. And it would take a while. It would take a lot of water, and all that runoff from all that electric and all that stuff would go all over the place. So if it's on the side of the road and it gets into a culvert, it gets in the waterways, and it right back to what Chief said, we're dealing with the EPA, and that's just, it's a lot of steps and a lot of process. And, with the the lack of amount of volunteers that we have on a daily basis, not saying this station, but through the entire county, if we get a car fire at 10 o'clock in the morning out on 340, it's gonna be hard to tell who's gonna be able to show it. You might get 4 pieces of apparatus there, and you might get 5 people. That's the reality that we face. So what you all are asking for 5, 10, 20 years down the road is we're gonna need people. And you all, as the commissioners, are gonna have to find some money somewhere to hire more people through the JCSA to supplement the volunteers. It's the same thing Loudon does. We're a career combination system that is starting to turn over to where it's supplemented by volunteers. It used to be a volunteer system that was supplemented by career people. And now we run so many calls a year, and there's so many stations, and the population is just astronomical. And we're getting all these houses built, all these data centers. So we need more career people in these stations 24/7, staffing that way. When someone calls 911, they know they're gonna get someone that's qualified, and they're gonna get there in 2, 3, 4 minutes. So what we need people. That ladder truck in 2016 was about $1 million. Right now it's $2 million. That truck behind you is from 1994. That one over there is 1995. We got a 2001 engine out there. We got a brand new tanker. So we're gonna need fire trucks. We're gonna need those things 20 years down the road. And it's gonna cost more than $2 million to replace that ladder truck in 20 years. I can almost guarantee that.
Well, and to your point, that was, I should probably mention this at the very beginning. This is the purpose of us doing the study. It came up last year, to the other commissioners, I will say, Posh and I was on the commission at the time to vote to do the study. Commissioner New, happy to stay, and he's our new. This is already in process and on its way. It was presented to us, I'm sure most of you know, to have a levy, fire levy. And, the commission felt like we needed to know, what you needed. That's what we're here today for. Because if my memory serves me correctly, what was proposed to the commission at the time was, I want to say $2.5 million a levy a year. I think 2.5 million, but the lion's share of that was equipment. But you're saying you need people, so if we have 2.2 million for equipment and only, 300,000 for staffing, that's not gonna do any good. So that's what we're here to figure out today. It needs to be a balance and, we need to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, a good thing would be to reach out to these other surrounding jurisdictions that have combination systems, that have volunteers and have career people, and see how they act. Like, I'm not even gonna get into our operating budget over in Loudoun County, because it's huge, it's a good system, it works very well. But it takes tax dollars, it takes whatever, like, it takes money, it takes a lot of money for that system to operate the way it does, and we're just falling way behind. We're building all these houses and we're expecting all these volunteers to show up and go to these calls. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's not, like, we're outrunning the capabilities of Jefferson County right now, as far as the fire departments, even the EMS, JCSA, they're running too many calls to only have 80 ambulances up during the day, or whatever it is. Six ambulances during the day, with all these houses that we're building and all these people that are moving from Loudoun County up here. Like, we're way behind the 8 ball, and it's long overdue that we need to figure out what we need to do, or someone's loved one in this firehouse sitting right now is gonna have a problem, and an ambulance or fire truck's not gonna get to them in time. And then it's gonna be a problem, especially with the people that are sitting up there. It'll be a problem then, it's gonna be a problem if it's me too, but that's my personal opinion.
Well, and I've always said that, we don't have to really reinvent the wheel here. We have people like you all that's sitting in the audience that work in Loudoun. We just need to look around us and see how Loudoun did it, how Frederick did it, Berkeley County's going to it. They're getting more fire staffing over there. We're next. So that's what we're here for.
So let me jump in with a comment. We haven't done the study, we're just starting the study, but I can tell you, I was appointed to the commission, I'm on 2 years ago. And I wrote an op-ed, I was very fortunate that people ran it, and the op-ed said this: we have a challenge in Jefferson County over the long term. The challenge is there's too much residential coming in, and we don't have enough money to pay for emergency service. That's the first thing I said. Is then I ran for re-election. I was very fortunate that people in Jefferson County voted for me, and my campaign was this: we have too much residential coming in, and we don't have enough money to pay for emergency services. Then we passed the budget this year. The number one priority we had was, let's pay for emergency services, give a raise to our staff, because they're not getting paid enough. We need to recruit and retain. I definitely recognize the problem. As a county commission, we do not, I'm gonna try and speak for y'all, tell me if I'm wrong, but we have no objective to try and build more housing in Jefferson County. We're not trying to do that. In fact, I've seen a lot of people shaking their heads. So, look, I think we all recognize that there's growth in the county that's not balanced. It's out of balance. One thing that's not understood very well is that the county commission is not voting to approve these projects. Well over 80% of them are being approved by the municipalities. So we have a combination government here, where you have county government, and then you have towns and cities. So that's a phenomenon that is happening. We have to address it. We are not in control of it, but we're aware of the problem.
And I don't want to play the blame game, but about 80% of the growth that's within our county is within municipalities, and every municipality has their own zoning ordinance. And so and many of these projects, I don't even want to blame the current, council members too, because many of them were approved 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they're independently approved. So they're not realizing all the other projects. And there's also just legalities when you, upzone for a high density zoning, these developers are essentially entitled for that density allotment. So, me being on the planning commission, I am trying to curb in a direction as much as legally possible to promote, commercial growth where they make sense, adhering to zoning laws. And hopefully that tax base can start to offset that heavy burden that we have right now for residential growth. So, we see it. I mean, I lived here for about 10 years and, the growth here is just, I mean, just along Flowing Springs Road, just getting in, going through Halltown, there's an accident. So I was a couple minutes late. I mean, it's rampant right now, so.
Let me ask a fire question. I heard this, thank you. Let me ask you a fire question. I heard this comment last night. And that's why we're doing a study. We gotta assess what the data is. Somebody said, we have more equipment than we need already in Jefferson County. We just need staff. Is that true? Is it not? What do you guys think?
So I'll partially answer that, but I want to make a comment real quick to this, just over it. I think it's really, really important that the county has a plan. And I'm not sure what that plan is. I don't know if you guys know what that plan is at this point. But to compare us, to use Loudon as a comparator, it's apples and oranges, right? We need to be realistic of what, I mean, I know Loudon's easy because it's to our east. Most of our people that live here work there. And that's where there's a lot of money. And the reality is the county, Jefferson County just doesn't have that revenue. And we won't for quite some time if ever, right? So I think the county has to be realistic of what that staffing is. Do we need staffing? Yes. Do we need apparatus? Also, yes. And there, to your point earlier, there is a balance to that. But there has to be a gradual balance to that. So is it, we're gonna start out putting a driver in every station? Are we gonna staff specific units perhaps, like, an engine here or a truck there, depending on need? So that's where I think the study really needs to look at, what types of calls we're getting in the county and what the response is to those, right? So a lot of our response plans, as we call them now, mirror that of other jurisdictions around us, where, a house fire, we're getting multiple engines, a ladder truck, multiple ambulances, that type of thing. And I think that has to be part of the study too, right? Of, are we over responding or under responding to incidents? Because that, without having that baseline, I don't know that you can really determine how many people we need, right? Okay, so let's say we get 100 house fires a year, and I'm just using that as a number. If you need, let's say 25 firefighters per house fire, right? What does that look like? And how does the county achieve that? And I think that really is the baseline for, and I hope that's part of the study of looking at those call types and looking at the response to those calls, comparing how many volunteers we get there now and what that looks like from a staffing perspective, regardless of where it is, right? Solar fields, house fires, park fires along 340, auto accidents, you name it. I mean, run the entire gamut, including EMS, right? Because they're going to be ESA employees that are supplementing this. And I think that's super important. As far as apparatus, I think all of the volunteer fire companies do a good job knowing what they need in their area, right? Most of the county is rural, and this is my opinion, Chief. I know you picked up the microphone too, but most of the county is rural, so we need water, right? So every station now has a tanker. And it had an engine tanker. We increased our capacity by buying a new tanker. So every fire chief kind of runs their own and determines what they need. Does that always work? No. Has there always been a need to have more equipment? Maybe not, but I can't criticize another fire department for what they do or don't spend because they're their own entity, right? They have their own area defined by the state that they're responsible to cover. But that is another issue that I think in the state of West Virginia, the way legislation currently is, the fire chief is the king of his castle, right? So what Chief Hertz feels like citizens need, and obviously with our board and things like that, he says this is what we need. If we need 2 ladder trucks, then we need 2 ladder trucks. And the county certainly, as I have learned in the past, does not have a voice in that. And that, in my opinion, is problematic from what you guys are going to be trying to do, right? You're going to be trying to do one overall system, and unless something's changing at the state, that's going to be very difficult. Because right now, The way legislation is, at least 7 years ago, when I was in a different role than I am now, the way the legislation is, the fire chief does what the fire chief wants to do. And that's gonna be a hurdle that you guys have to overcome, for sure.
Yeah, and to your point of equipment, I don't think I stressed this earlier. That's why we're doing the study for. Because whenever, if this commission would push out a levy to go on the ballot, you're now, if it would pass, on the ifs here, then we're starting to collect money from the taxpayers. And we, as a commission, have to be responsible for taxpayer money. And that's one of the things that I'm interested in seeing from this study. Not to say that, do we need, I know every station doesn't have a lot of truck, but does every station need a lot of truck? Or how many do we have down in the county? Two. Do we need three? I don't know. That's what I really want to know. So, because once, if we get this levy passed or whatever we do, we have to be responsible for taxpayer money, and we have to make sure it's being spent properly.
And the oversight of how the government sets money is very different than the system you just outlined, where the chief says what he wants and that's the way it works. That is not how the commission works. There is very stringent oversight, and we have a state auditor, we got rules, and you know how that works. We've got a chief financial officer here to explain all that.
Yeah, I think the other thing to consider in this, and this is more maybe for the study, is what level of NFPA compliance are we trying to achieve? Right? Are we trying to get, there's NFPA standards out there that say you have to have certain apparatus on the scene within a certain amount of time. And I can tell you that even well-off jurisdictions around us still do not meet those NFPA requirements, right? So at what level is the commission considering meeting those requirements? And I think that's another thing, hopefully, that the study, lays out maybe some different levels or something like that, because I think that's important, right? As a taxpayer, not just a volunteer, right? I live in the county as well, but that's important to me to know if a levy were to be proposed and passed, what is my money actually going to, and how is it being spent? And that's what I want to know as a taxpayer, not just a volunteer for Citizens Fire.
So in addition to your question on why so many stations have so much apparatus, we also look at the community when we purchase apparatus, because the more water we have and stuff like that, it improves the insurance. The ISO rating, which can help decrease the amount of insurance that a homeowner may have to pay. So one way to alleviate some of that is to invest in the infrastructure in the county by hydrating the whole county, you know what I'm saying? Rather than relying on tanker shuttle service.
Yeah, we are very different than Berkeley County. With, they ran water throughout most of the county, and they have most water and sewer everywhere. They have their ISO ratings, I'm sure, is probably a lot lower. The problem is, I can see it now in the headlines, their paper. I'm not looking at our paper, guys, but water line running down Cable Town, here comes houses and growth, you know what I'm saying? So, maybe, maybe you brought that up. What about like dry hydrants? What's your thoughts on that?
Dry hydrants are good, but they gotta be maintained.
Underground storage tank.
Yeah, underground storage tanks, which would be a dry hydrant in essence.
Yeah, we had a meeting, when it was, a year and a half ago, and Kara Keys was there, and I brought up the solar field that is supposedly or may go out on Willers of the Roo. I said to make them put in a 30,000 gallon underground tank. That way, all those houses around there benefit from that. It lowers the ISO rating and it lowers their insurance. So necessarily doesn't have to be hydrants. It could be 20 and 30,000 gallon tanks that maybe you could get with these municipalities that are building all these houses and say, hey, if there's no hydrants there, put in a 30,000 gallon tank. Because it's going to lower their insurance. It's going to help us with water being there as well. So there's options. It doesn't have to be hydrants. Hydrants are great, and we wish we had hydrants everywhere. But we can get by with storage tanks are better than dry hydrants, because dry hydrants have to be maintained more than storage tanks do. We're relying on these ponds and these streams and all that, and old PVC piping getting gunked up by mud and sticks and things like that. to where an underground storage tank is completely self-sustaining and it just takes a yearly flushing it out and making sure that it works and all that. So that's an option too.
Thank you.
I do have a question. I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Sure, my name is Steve Knight.
All right, so when we were talking about all this and we were bringing about the NFPA standards and all that, and you were shaking your head, and please don't take this question the wrong way, but when we talk about that stuff, you know what we're talking, you know what NFPA standards are and all that stuff, right? What you're looking for, what's required and all that, because I do feel for you to be in charge of the fire study, that you should know about all that stuff. I just want to ask that question to make sure you're well aware of all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe I should just give a quick background on me. I retired from a Metro Fire Department in Florida, third generation firefighter, and retired. I'm going to consulting full time. So pretty well versed on that. But your point, gentlemen, earlier is spot on. That's exactly what we attempt to do is say, okay, this is where your performance is today. Is that acceptable or not? And if not, which direction we want to move, right? So whether or not from a policy perspective, they choose to follow 1720 or not, or 1710 or not, right? That's going to be a local policy choice, but at least we'll kind of build a story and say, if this was your goal, this is what it would cost and this is what it would take. That answer the question? Okay, great.
I have a question for everybody here. I think we can all agree Loudon's not a good comparison. They have almost around $2 billion in tax revenue from data centers alone. That's the taxes. That's not the, that's just the taxes. It's a lot. So we're never gonna have that here. It's not a good comparison. Do y'all have any thoughts on nearby communities we should be looking to, if not Loudon?
Washington, what? Maybe Washington County, Maryland would probably be your close bet.
Thinking Washington, I'm honestly not sure about Berkeley.
I wouldn't, I
Not sure
don't know
about
much
Berkeley.
about, I wouldn't go too far as Berkeley, because that's a different beast over there.
Yeah,
But I would say Washington County, Maryland would probably be your best bet. Carroll County, maybe, yeah, maybe even Falk here.
Population.
Populations, yeah.
yeah, I think for the study, Steve, what was it? So
Steve.
Yeah, Steve. So for you, I think it really is just identifying that, like, who should we be looking at? Is to Corey's point, I think population matters. I think square miles matter. But also topography, right? Like we have some things that are unique in Jefferson County, but not a lot, right? There's other jurisdictions that have things around, things that, we have, and it might not even be people that surround us, right? It might be in other states or whatever. And I would assume, hopefully that your network goes out that far to look at some of those jurisdictions and use that as a comparison.
Yeah, on the surface, absolutely, right? Try to pick some good comparators to say, okay, what can we glean from this? What can we benchmark from it? Any words of wisdom we can steal and say, hey, that worked pretty well for that agency. The tripwire I see with that is from a policy perspective, you can go to a very socioeconomically challenged community, but the policy ideas invest heavily in public safety. And then you can go to some of the most affluent areas in the universe where like Tiger Woods, lives in places like that took away all the pensions and are adverse to spending on public safety, right? So that's one of the challenges. You just don't want to take it carte blanche. This community spends this on public safety, so we should. You kind of have to pick and choose a little bit to make some common sense choices because, the policy options are always different. Fair.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, to your point, I'm just looking at populations. I don't know how we to see how we compare to other counties. Falk here is 75,000, Washington's 157, and Carroll's 177. So it looks like Falk here would probably be something more closer to us. We are 60-ish thousand, 62,000, somewhere in that ballpark. We really don't know the exact number until the census comes out, but we can gauge on that. I can tell you, the last 2 years, we had built just under, last year, under 1,000, had 1,000 permits, under 1,000, and this year we're over 1,000. We averaged 300 to 400. So, and the last census, Jefferson County grew about 1%. So, and it was the slowest growth in Jefferson County, since 1950. But we went through a very long recession. And I think that's what caused it. So just a little food for thought. Make sure everyone's Jeopardy. You can say, I know the population trend, right?
And
Let's-
Chief-
go ahead.
Chief Sign, if you don't mind me asking, you mentioned last night at our presentation, that you did a salary study or comparison a couple years ago. Would that be fruitful for us to identify agencies?
Yeah, I think, we took every surrounding county
Okay.
that bordered us, some that are more well off than we are, some that are equal. Berkeley, closest comparison right now to us, I think, even though they are a very large county by square miles and population in Washington, the way their system is growing, and how they're expanding their career force and supporting the volunteer system. It is very close to what we're doing. They're slightly ahead due to economics, but it pairs well with what we're doing.
Okay, great. And then if you all don't mind just helping me out, the beginning, we covered a lot of territory, but the beginning really talked about staffing being the core issue. Is that fair? Right? The biggest issue?
Yeah, I think for me personally, as a taxpayer, as a volunteer, I think staffing, we have good equipment. We're good at saving money, we're good at investing, and we're good at buying equipment. What we need help with here, and Chief and Fletch, please, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but it really is the people. We need the people to help get our really nice equipment out the door.
Right, okay, so understanding that, could someone speak to, maybe Chief, this is your question, but can you describe what your recruitment, or your retention efforts are? What programs that you have in place today? You talked about your roster being pretty good at 42, but what's your attrition? I mean, if you mentioned that you train people and they leave, can you kind of describe what you're up against on that?
I can't really say that we have a bad attrition rate. I mean, over the past few years, we've probably taken in 15.
Or about 20.
Okay, 20 to 25. And I mean, for the most part, we've held on to most of it. The issue that we are gonna start encountering is the age of some of us. And the ability for us to keep doing the job. I mean, not to mention what it does to the body. So trying to get all these young guys in, we're doing a pretty good job of it. But like I said earlier in the session, is people have to travel outside of the county to make a living because they just can't do it here. There's no businesses for people to work in. And by the time they get home from traveling as far as they do, they're too tired. They want to spend time with their family. Luckily, we have young guys who don't have family. But as they get older, they start meeting people, start families, and I can tell you, I mean, when I was a young fireman, it was all I did. And I mean, you miss a lot of things. And we encourage our people to make sure you're part of your family because you only have it once. So that is another reason why our duty crews are so low, is because if Aiden has something to do one night, Charles can step up and take his spot and they do a trade. So that's another reason why our duty crews are successful, is because the members help each other out when they have things to do.
Just to elaborate on that, recruitment and retention kind of it really goes hand in hand the same with me. It's not two totally separate things, it's the same thing. So the culture, I can speak for only for citizens, the culture we built here is what's helped us. We invest in our members invest in us. We do what we can for them, we work with them, as Chief stated, there's things we put in priority compared to the station that allow our members to do what they need to do and to be successful here. The way we work with members to build them into career spots in other agencies, even within Jefferson County and outside of Jefferson County. I can say probably over half of the people we've taken in that want to get into a career spot, we built them up to get to that spot and they've always come back to us. And it's helped us immensely to keep our staffing going. And when you take care of your people, they go out and they spread the word for you. You don't have to worry about it. There's no advertising, there's no recruitment. They are our recruitment. And that's what we've done. And it's worked well for us. And we still go out to schools and we'll do stuff like that. But it's once they come in and the way we do things, they go out and recruit for us. It's not a program. It's not certain things. That's it. I don't pay any of them. We don't have, I mean, there's nothing else we do besides what we do in-house, take care of our people, they take care of us, and they go out and recruit for us. And that's why, like Chief said, that's why our program is working so well right now. And yeah, I give it up to those guys that have made this program work and flow well.
Last night, someone had a question. Do we plan on taking over the fire? Nobody asked that question here tonight. Maybe y'all are just smarter, but the answer is hell no. All right. We don't have any intentions of taking over the fire. This plan is to supplement the firehouses. You all have done a great job here. Whoever your seniors were in the Citizens Fire Company that put this location here, I would thank them. This is the best location in the county. You're right off the 4-lane road. You're not hitting any traffic lights. Get down there, you can get to the mountain quicker than the mountain can get to a lot of locations. Y'all do a good job here, and we're here to supplement the services that you have. Now, 50 years from now, I don't know. I probably won't be here in 50 years. If I am, I'll be an old crotchety guy, and
Even more. old.
maybe even more, yeah. Yeah.
I'll be ringing that bell.
Yeah. So but we appreciate, you do appreciate the feedback from everyone, and I just thought I'd throw this out there. You have the chief sign, you have the county commission, you have your county administrator. Is there anything that you all want to suggest? I know might get off topic a little bit about, our ESA here or anything you would do different, now that we've been doing this for a couple of years.
One of the things I really wanted to stress is we need to look down the road. As we plan things, we tend to plan close, not further out. One of the things I saw years ago, when a firehouse moved from downtown Charlestown, moved over to here, so many of us are like, what are they thinking? What y'all were thinking was where we are in the future. And a lot of us didn't see that. That is what we have got to pass on to others, because you moved yourself into an area that puts you as the busiest in the county. You've got great access to the road, to the cut across. You have reached out tremendously, and I applaud you for that.
We definitely went through some times though, when we did move down here, where it felt like we were completely on an island and we didn't do anything.
Right.
So, I mean, being around since then to what we are now and how busy we are, I mean, there were times and, all of us, maybe not all of us, some of us sitting in this room, can tell you that, like, there were times where it's like, we're not on that call because we moved out of town, right? And now we're so much further away from everything And to your point, chief, I think that those who had the foresight for that absolutely should be commended. I didn't necessarily say that 20 years ago. I'm sitting here today,
Look at the lab.
100%.
You do.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, Sandy, you were there, right? Thank you, Sandy, for your foresight.
Yes.
And just real quick, what else could be done? I know, talk about incentive, making incentives for volunteers and things. Another. Those calls. There's certain things that have to comply if you shows the service. Party on board to do that, and it never worked panned out, but the amount of money that could be saved for. We do hose testing all at once at this spot, we do ladder testing all at this spot, pump testing all at this spot, you know. Everybody gets the same air packs, which I know expensive and that's a big, but. Not, you know, just trying to get maintenance maybe covered or taken care of or somehow reduced. If everyone went to the same spots and got that squared away, that would be a big help. Yeah, workers' comp, insurance costs. You know, I'm looking at anywhere from 50 to 60,000 a year in total in insurance costs just to this station. So that's another big deal that, you know, costs to us. So there's a lot of different avenues you can go down, and how to help stations to where they can focus on. Maybe the help is getting manpower, don't get me wrong, helping the station build a recruiting program or however. But if you can take that burden off to some of the stations where they can focus more on trying to get people and not, or the cost of gear, is, you know, $5,000 a set. You know, when you get desk jacket, pants, and boots. That's it, not counting the gloves, the helmets, the no neck, everything else that goes into this cost. So, there's a lot of different routes you can take to help station to where not so much getting the manpower, which on the pay side is great. Get them manpower because it's needed. But also helping them to where they can redirect their focus on other items instead of having to worry so much about other things.
I think now might be a good time. Now might be a good time for Mr. Knight to give us an overview of the process, what the next steps are. How y'all might hear from him, what the opportunities you'll have to give input and provide data.
With the rain back there, can you just make sure you speak into that really well so we can hear you?
Sure. God did not give me the best of voice. Yes, so a little bit about where we are. Like we said, we're in the beginning. So we've been working in the background for a couple of months trying to get all the response data, things like that. Each of the fire agencies have been asked to provide information on their personnel rosters, the apparatus, you know, those kinds of things. Budget information, items like that. So we kind of have a two-pronged approach. We're working on the data and the GIS for station placements and how many stations we need and all those kinds of things in the background, and we'll come share that out later when we report out. And then this is the stakeholder input where we're open to hearing what your challenges are, what your ideas are, you know, any of those top drawer things that have been sitting there for a long time. Go ahead and dust them off and share them with us. That's what we're looking for. So at this stage, we're going to be doing all of the stakeholder meetings like this with all the agencies over the next, all of this week, and then we're going to skip a week, and then we'll have some more to wrap them up. And all of that information will then be coalesced and help shape ideas moving forward. So at this stage, we don't know much of anything. But as we start to put that all together, our commitment for this project is to make sure that we're as transparent as possible. So what that means is, once we have some of those foundational data-driven elements, we want to come back and shop them around and make sure they pass the common sense test and things like that. And that way, what our goal is to make sure we're all on the same page about the data. You may disagree with what the ultimate recommendation may be, and that's fine. We can cross that bridge when we get there. But what we don't want is to be in a situation where we start arguing about the very beginning of the project, right? So our commitment is to be as transparent as we can with that, and hopefully your commitment to us is to take a glance at it and weigh in so we can, make sure we eliminate any hurdles right from the beginning, because there's no agenda in this whatsoever from our firm, and certainly you heard from the county commission. So we just want the data to be correct, or as correct as it can be, given, the challenges with that. But so I would anticipate us having some information to share probably 45 to 60 days from now, and we'll continue to gather information and ask questions like this from you all. What I will share with the chief after we leave, if there's anybody that wants to share anything further that didn't come out in this setting, feel free to email me, call me, and I'll be happy to entertain it.
I have a question. So if I recall 3, 4, 5 months ago, all the chiefs or presidents and or both of them of all companies in the county were sent questions and some data and stuff like that. Are you getting that stuff back? And as far as I'm aware, we provided all that stuff to you already. Are you getting it from all the other companies? And if you haven't gotten it already, how long are you gonna wait around on them to either give it to you or say, all right, well, you didn't provide it for us, you've had enough time, like, we're moving on. Like, are you there? Or is that what we're gonna do? Like, you're not gonna sit and drag it out for 8 months because one of
that we're taking, but it's a lot harder. It's just a lot harder, and that's why it's so rare in government. That's what we're gonna try and do here. Thank you for coming tonight. There's an old saying, if you wanna go fast, you go alone. But if you wanna go far, you go together. And we wanna go far with this project. It's gonna take a lot of time and a lot of effort, but the goal is to be collaborative. And, thank you for coming tonight. We'll be in touch.